And then secondly, what do you are you a fan of carnivore diets?
I'm not against carnivore at all. I mean, honestly, I I do mostly protein and some vegetables
Cool.
just because I happen to love green beans.
Yeah, great.
So, I just kind of like, oh, I want some green beans today, but I don't really do anything beyond that. So, I really get the carnivore mindset, and
Hmm,
I'm not against it at all. I think that some people get real benefits from it, and I used to think that I needed a good amount of veggies, and I'm not so sure about that now.
hmm.
I supplement to make sure that my like the minerals are up to
Cool.
par. Yeah,
Yeah,
mostly, like potassium and magnesium and all that from plants, right?
yeah.
But once I supplemented from that, I don't think I feel like I need a whole lot of veg. Like I said, I do green beans just because I love green beans.
You love
So
them. Yeah.
yeah,
That's great. Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. Always cool to get different people's opinions. And I know you use, ketogenic diets and low carbohydrate diets as part of what you do. But the thing I love about you is you're not like dogmatic about any of it. It's not like you're like out there in the low carbohydrate space, like plugging this is exactly what you have to do. It really seems like you're taking such an individual approach with all of the different people that you work with.
yeah. And also, Casey, it's really important. I know you do coaching as well, right? That
Yeah, I
it's
do. Yeah.
important, yeah, that you take into context people's life stage
Yes.
and where they're at. And a lot of, so what I see in the space is that people go away and they plug, let's say, a keto or this or that, or intermittent fasting, all of which have benefits. See,
Yep.
this is the part that I think it's hard for people to understand. Yes, they are beneficial in certain contexts, and some of them you utilize, they're great tools, but they're maybe not for your entire life. Stay
Perfect.
on
Yeah.
this as a lifetime thing. But you take someone who's been ill and then got better with one specific dietary regimen, you can
It's
totally
that
understand they're
one.
scared to move to
Yeah.
something else or try. You can understand. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I think as practitioners, we have to be really careful about, getting so dogmatic about it and losing the nuance, right? I was putting up my newsletter today, and usually in the newsletter I put up the tentative
Surprise.
episodes that I'm going to be talking about, and just like whatever I'm thinking about as I'm eating lunch, this kind of gets on the thing, right? So I the recent whole thing about keto diets and the heart,
Yeah.
did you see that paper? It was not published.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, it was not.
It was
Well, a lot
just
of people,
yesterday.
yeah, they were discussing the paper's actually not published, and there's lots of things wrong with it. But like most things in the world, you got to tease out what's relevant, what's not relevant, right? So
Yeah.
it was, in general, not a good paper at all. But
Yeah.
to say that ketones don't have a possibly negative effect on the heart is not true. So people ask me how I come up with these episodes and things like that. Right?
Yeah.
Generally, I read a lot, and I keep these folders. So I'm just giving you my secrets of how I do things, right? Just because I over time I would read, and then I would have every. I'm going to show you, but you can't show anyone. See the mess? Yeah, like all that, right? And
Nice.
it's even messier. So I tried to angle the camera, but I have like tons of paper. So then I decided, okay, so I keep these folders now, digital folders. I see an
Yeah.
article and I throw it in, and I label it like adipocyte or ketones and everything. So over the years, I've just accumulated in my ketones folder, let's say, okay, or I call it my KB folder, ketone bodies folder. And a while back, I saw this article on the effects of ketone bodies on cardiomyocytes, and it was talking about a particular mechanism. And it kind of really struck me because I'd never seen anything like this. And I filed it away. But then I remembered something I read in a textbook on the, sort of insulin effects and ketones on the heart. So I kind of put this together. And then this discussion came out yesterday about this. And the study was a bad one, But that's not to say there aren't some things that we still don't know about ketones, right? And again, the
Sure.
context is important. So I decided, okay, one of these episodes, I'm just going to do the whole thing from my ketones folder. All the
Cool.
strange and sort of inexplicable things about ketones, because everybody talks about ketones in one context, but there are all these weird things that are floating around there that never get gathered, right? So I was going to do that. So I mean, that's just my methodology, is I just
I love it.
accumulate these things, throw it in there, and then as things come up, I remember, I'm like, yeah, that was weird. But that allows you to step back and look at a big picture.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That's good science. That's trying to prove yourself wrong all the time. That's really good science. I really
Thank
appreciate
you,
that.
Casey. Thank you, because I keep saying, why are people so defensive about being right? I'm like, the whole thing about science is, here's a hypothesis, and the name of the game is prove it wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
And you learn so much more by proving it wrong than, okay, you proved it right, but now we don't really know much about it. But every time you prove it wrong, you learn one angle, one aspect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the whole premise of science. And yet it's funny how people are very defensive and want to be right. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not really scientific, but okay.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I was just telling somebody today that I was coaching, like my whole career is about being wrong. I'm just wrong about everything all the time. And I'll tell people, like, I coach people for carnivore, but people are seeking me. It's not like I'm fighting people. And I'll just tell people, like, look, it's like I'm working at the Volkswagen dealership and you're looking for a Ford. I'm not at the Volkswagen dealership yelling at everybody driving a Ford by. I'm good at Volkswagens, and I can tell you about Volkswagens. That's all I do. Like, if you want to drive a Chevy, go do that. Like, there's lots of different
Right.
ways, and doing this for a short period of time is like you said, like, you don't have to do this forever, but maybe it'll help for certain things for now. But yeah, it's
And you might
frustrating, but it's so
end
much
up,
fun.
yeah, and you might end up primarily being carnivore, but at certain periods you might add in a few things, right?
Yeah, of
So I
course.
think there's not that, forever and ever,
Exactly.
amen,
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
mentality. I'm like, where did that come from? Because we weren't
Yeah.
built that way either.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I know people who, like, literally, if they go off, they are bipolar, and that's a different story. But most of us
Yes,
are not bipolar, and it's like, okay,
yes,
you don't need this as
yes,
therapy. This will help for sure, and at least
yes,
make sure you're getting protein and whatever. Anyway, I really
yes.
appreciate that answer. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.